The Empire was right to overthrow the Republic. At its fall, the Republic was weighed down by a bureaucracy, unable to help its citizens, corrupted by greed, unwilling to help the innocent. And this spread to the Jedi Order, keepers of the peace, arbiters of truth, who, if you angered the wrong person, would hunt you down and, if they felt necessary, kill you. And so the Republic had to fall. The Empire was necessary. It would restore peace. It would restore security. Justice would be returned to the galaxy. Or at least that's what one particular subreddit would have you believe. No, I don't actually believe the Empire was right, but I would like to go over a scenario in which someone could. In particular, one Agent Kallus. So let's do a bit of a speedrun of Agent Kallus's life. He is born on Coruscant, joins the Imperial Academy there, and goes into a military training program where he ends up at the ISB. He does pretty normal things in the ISB, including an attack on the planet of Lasan, where the Lasat pretty much get wiped out. Not entirely, but pretty close. He does a brief sidetrack of going to hunt Han, and then goes after the crew of the Ghost. After trying and failing several times to take down the Ghost crew, he gets stuck on a planet with Garazeb, one of the remaining Lasats. On that planet, there is a bit of a team up. They're not super happy about it, but they do keep each other alive, and then both return to their respective factions. After this, Kallus ends up downing the Empire, and then eventually defecting, first in private as a spy, and then publicly and properly joining them once, Thrawn figures out that he's a spy. After that, he does pretty standard rebel things, and joins in the freeing of Lothal. And that's kind of where that all ends off. So why did Kallus join the Empire in the first place? Well, peace, security, and justice. The stated goals of the Empire are noble, and any person willing to believe in those ideals would readily join up, because from a certain point of view, that is what the Empire brings. And so when Kallus joins the Empire, that's what he's joining. He was on Coruscant. It's not like the Empire is heavily oppressing Coruscant. And wherever he goes, he does his best to uphold justice. That is why he joined. It's what he wants to do. And at some point, he almost gets killed by a rebel that just outright executes all of his men. And then eventually comes into conflict with the Ghost Crew, a different set of rebels. But to him, it's the same rebels that executed everyone he commanded. All of the people he cared about were killed by their friends. So, in the pursuit of justice, he intends to bring them to justice. And eventually, almost gets himself killed. See, he ends up getting himself stranded on a moon of Geonosis with Zeb, and they're both going to freeze to death. And since Zeb is the first one with the upper hand and shows mercy, Kallus shows it back. And in some of the downtime they have, Zeb asks Kallus why Geonosis has nobody there. Where did all the Geonosians go? And Kallus says he never thought to ask. They're gone. What does it matter? And Zeb tells him, why don't you ask that question? Go find out why they're not there. And when Zeb gets picked up first, and all of his companions are happy to see him, and then Kallus is, by his choice, left on the moon, and eventually returned to the Empire by not even the Empire, he recognizes that the Empire he loves so dearly, that he fights so hard for, wouldn't care if he died. Now, of course, as long as he's right and the Empire is fighting for peace, that doesn't really matter to him. But now he has that question. What happened to Geonosis? And now that question starts to burn. That question starts to say, what if Zeb is right? And more importantly, what if you're wrong? What happened to Geonosis? And eventually, he needs an answer. So he asks, and he looks, and eventually comes to the conclusion Zeb was right. It was the Empire that killed Geonosis. And it's not like he can say it was just one time. He participated in the destruction of Lasan. So now what? What do you do when your entire life turns upside down? Some people break. Some people break down and cry and cannot move forward. They lose themselves. Some run away, vanish to the edges of the galaxy, never to be seen again. Some decide that, no, they are right. This is wrong. And they double down and they go even harder. And some decide to fight. They turn and defect. And that's what Kallus does. He defects. And in doing so, Agent Kallus almost doesn't change. All he does is learn new information. He still wants justice. He still wishes to protect the innocent people of the galaxy. He just no longer believes the Empire can do that. You see, the former Agent Kallus has not fundamentally changed. He has only learned new information. He has only received a new perspective. Nothing more, and nothing less. And this story is a compelling one. It is one that, when you look back on it, makes you love Kallus, even when you don't like him. Because it shows how, in the pursuit of justice, one can go too far. And once you realize you have gone too far, that you can be redeemed, that it is not too late. So, why have I spent so much time going over a side character in a show that I know a lot of people haven't watched? No, it's not to promote Rebels, though I will say you probably should watch it, but rather it's to say that the Empire would be a better enemy if it recruited more honest people. You see, there is a tendency, or maybe some unspoken industry standard, that says the bad guy must always have bad motivations. And I don't mean that in their motivations must not make sense, but that their motivations must always be purely evil. That there can be no sympathizing with what they want to achieve. And so when a writer wants to redeem one of these characters, they're forced to fundamentally change them. The character that becomes redeemed is not the same character as they were before. Unlike Agent Kallus, they must change, or else they would never defect. And this is not particularly easy to relate to. A person wholly changing everything overnight just doesn't happen very often in the real world. It is difficult for someone to look at that and say, yes, I could see me changing my whole life around. Sure, we may all fantasize about it, but man, the effort of doing that is hard. Rather, having a character who is, before and after, fundamentally the same person, but just with a bit of new information, is much easier to relate to. It resonates with far more people. And so when a misguided character sees the light and acts as they would have before in pursuit of justice, we are not convinced that this is some new person, but that it is the same person who finally sees the truth. The same character we have rooted for to do the right thing can now see the right thing. And so we get to root for their redemption. We get to see them step out of the darkness and into the light. And it saddens me that we do not get to see this as often as I would like. I would very much like to see a redeemed character be the same fundamental character before and after their redemption. And I think it is a great loss that that does not happen more often. That's all I have for the day. Y'all have a good night.